Welcome back, episode 2 of your request month 2, and I was torn when you started reading the list because we just did a couple One Piece videos for the stream, but then we supplemented it with Totally Not Mark. So it was either go back to One Piece or go back to Mark.
We can't win.
Can't win for losing. So we went back to Mark. This video is Dragon Ball GT versus Dragon Ball Super, the anatomy of anime. What could there be versus for?
Yeah.
Characters,
I just realized
the
he has,
fights.
Timestamps, but I don't know. I haven't spoiled myself. I don't want to get spoiled. Unless you want to get spoiled, I can say them, but we'll get to them.
Yeah, we'll get to them.
Over the last number of months, I've dedicated most of my time.
When was this created?
This was 2020, April 30th, 2020.
Okay. That's probably the anime has ended already for Dragon Ball Super.
Oh yeah, long since. Okay. Because I remember Shudokan was still going on when... Doesn't matter. Most of my time reviewing Dragon Ball GT and Dragon Ball Super. And today I will be delivering my final verdict on the two series. Will he?
No. Because
it's up to you. Everything's just as good as everything else, baby. You going over there. You like what you like. Everybody likes what you...
I'm not going that way. I'm going Dragon Ball Super is technically not over, so you can't render a final verdict on the thing.
Okay, so why did this hypothetical Mark put that in description?
No, there's no hypothetical. It's literal Mark put it in the description. I'm just hypothetically going, that's not accurate because it's technically not over.
I'm just mad already. So sit back.
Will he 50-50 it? Will he 60-40 it?
I'm going to close my good eye and see how many chapters there are. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Is that a conclusion? There are 7.
So impossible. Oh, but for Dragon Ball One Piece, gotta do the 8. Fitty. Did he do the same things? Characters, plot.
Sit back and relax and enjoy my thoughts on these two series and my final reveal of which I think is better. Yo, get in there. Oh boy.
Let's get into it.
I can't. Okay. So, I was in preparation for watching this video. I watched most of Super. Mm-hmm. I got to where Sin Shinran came, and I'm like, yeah,
GT.
GT. And Sin Shinran, he showed up. I'm like, yeah, I got it from here.
A lot of fights.
Yeah, big fights. I got his character. I don't need to. We're fine here. Super is etched into my mind. We don't need to go back and watch that bullshit. GT
is better.
It's GT.
Yeah, I had no inclination to disagree with that to begin with. It's so funny that people mock Super 17 for just being kind of shamelessly bringing back an ex-villain. But then they're just clapping for Frieza, clapping for Broly, just clapping for these other characters based almost purely on the fact that you recognize who they are.
Yeah. It's like you can't have it both ways. I think that's a part of a good thing about the GT thing, that all the major villains tie back to something else.
Yes.
It wasn't just, here's this super, but you also got here's this super strong guy in space. He's Boo level. It's like, is he? Like, you can't just say that.
Yeah, you can't just break out on Planet 42. There's a guy as strong as Boo.
Oh my goodness.
Just sitting there.
And then once the in-universe tournament comes around, we need Roshi.
And then, as Frieza is taking over the universe, this dude isn't just like
chilling.
I think I'm gonna want to stop this, sir.
Yeah, so there's also that, but Baby ties back in with the Saiyans.
Baby is a fantastic villain. I refuse to believe
good. It's legit. It's like, I don't like Baby as much as I like Beerus.
Of course not.
Because I think Beerus is the best thing about Super and GT. Baby is the best thing about GT. But there's a lot worse in Super than there is in GT.
I'd assume so.
And
Did you watch the full thing with the
Yes,
adventures in space?
I did not watch the yada yada yada. Y'all got
Here
it.
comes
The Dragon
baby.
Balls are here. No, I watched all of it.
Mm-hmm. Was the adventure stuff fun? A lot of it was. A lot of it wasn't.
On the rewatch, this has happened over and over again. It happened with my greater appreciation of Cavendish. It happened with my greater appreciation of Big Mom. I love Pan.
How could you have a bigger appreciation for her? She's awesome.
have a bigger appreciation of Big Mom.
Well, that's fair.
Trunks is the same.
Yeah.
Goku is
Trunks is Trunks.
A little bit better, but I like Kid Goku a lot more than the dog Goku, and this is sort of a mix of them. Trunks, oh boy, I will never understand the Trunks stuff.
He came in, he was cool, he was hyped,
he was nothing.
He was a little silly.
Nothing.
He was a little something. You know what I'm saying? Hidden play.
I don't want to.
Dragon Ball GT versus Dragon Ball Super. Which is a better series? Okay, so a little bit of context first for those of you here that are new. Ever since I started this channel way back in 2015...
Do we need context?
What does the context add to the video? I mean, he's going to tell us, but at the end of getting this context dialogue, are we going to have a greater appreciation for what he's going to found when he dissects which is better than which?
If we skipped ahead 3 minutes and assumed it's just he watched both of them and now he's just pairing them off, what changes? Oh, the Dragon Ball Super and GT, both not technically by Toriyama, but continuations of Z and beloved and behated, and now I don't need this.
I've had something of a running joke where I bleep out the GT in Dragon Ball G. Sort of like that. I spent an ungodly amount of time going through Dragon Ball G recently, which is, needless to say...
For the sake of is that funny?
No. It is for the sake of comedy. It's so disgusting. I must bleep it out.
But that's not funny.
Do we have to go to a comment section? And don't go to the comment section. I'm trying to get out of here. But we have to go to a comment section of people just like, it's so funny
okay,
Nezuko is so cute every time she appears on screen.
It's the judge of what's funny?
Who would be the judge if not a person? A cow? Giving it 3 moves?
As I was saying that, I'm like, stop. Maybe rephrase it. Where are you going with this?
Is the lowest common denominator of people that would watch content like this the barometer of what's funny?
Yes, that's a better way to put it.
Such a long way to put it.
Many GT fans didn't like that and began sounding off in the comments time and again. Now, this was mostly a joke, but they were right to some extent. While it was a joke, it was also rooted in a...
Don Kokoro, infinitely better than Chala Hair Chala. The GT theme.
Oh, okay. The English one or the Japanese one?
No, the Japanese one.
Just making sure.
Not the step into the grand. No, get that trash out of here. But Don is amazing.
I never understood the reference for Chala. It's, if I were to just every theme I've ever heard, it'd be mid-tier.
Yeah, it's fine. I'm the same way. I'm like, yeah, it's fine. It's hype.
Yeah, it's like a B.
I think Dragon Soul is a lot better.
Oh yeah, I'd agree with that. I think maybe not the third super opening, but there was one super opening where I was like, this is hitting. That's the third one.
Okay. Yeah.
Zeno-sama, what did... I don't hear that shit.
Feeling I had for GT while it was on the air. I genuinely thought it ruined my favorite TV show. But keep in mind I was also 12 years old when I said this. I was a little dramatic. So much so I actually gave up around episode 14, never to look back at the series ever again. Or so I thought. Fast forward to January 2020, I had just finished up reviewing...
Also, there's a lot of trash in space.
No. Of this, I have no doubt.
Yes, it was some fun stuff. I like the B episode, but There's a lot of trash.
I have no doubts.
The films of Dragon Ball's past and present and was just about ready to get back to normality. And that was when I noticed more comments. Much more than there ever had been in the past, cropping up on YouTube and Twitter asking me to finally review Dragon Ball GT. And that was when
Why does he... Okay, yeah, we got it. Why does he let the fans dictate what he does so much? Puppet Mark, like that Drew.
Because he is a person whose job is this. So he has to chase whatever the most popular, most requested, most wanted thing is. For us, Mubs, can y'all stop doing Hunter x Hunter? No.
Yeah, no.
You cannot watch. Because we do not depend on this.
Legitimately, if you build it, they will come. So why not just branch out to either other stuff and then get more fans who will go back and watch your other stuff, or put some more eyes on some stuff that you like that other people might not know about.
So if you build it, they will come. But there is no guarantee they will come if you build it.
Sure.
But there is a guarantee if they're outside screaming, build this, that if you build it, they'll come.
Probably not.
There's a greater chance.
There's a greater
Much
chance.
greater chance.
Yeah. What if I reviewed Dragon Ball GT and Dragon Ball Super, ending on one big final review where I decided once and for all which one it was that I preferred? Fast forward another few months and many reviews later, it brings us to today's video. A video I've wanted to make for quite a while, one I've waited to deliver on, and one I am now ready to tackle and write. Today I will be analyzing which series I think works better as a Dragon Ball story, and what
I wonder how he feels.
That's a Dragon Ball story. What is a Dragon Ball story?
What is a Dragon Ball story, Mark?
Because Dragon Ball has been a many great thing. Great many things. That's what I meant to say. It has not been a many great things.
I just wonder how he feels about the Tournament of Power.
by me? I mean, episodes 120, 121, and 122. The episode
Why are you doing it episode by episode, Mark?
Because it's a review. What do you mean?
impact on the story had they been handled better, and perhaps even the whole tournament could have been made slightly more cohesive looking back at it now. But overall, rewatching this left me with honestly more positive than negatives to talk about, and I'm genuinely happy for that. The music in parts I believe was used masterfully well, and in others a little less well. In fact, going through this series again has inspired me to study Dragon Ball's music more, and to be honest, I'm very excited to share with you all what I've found and noticed about this series' music. A lot of you have written to me privately and publicly on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube, reprimanding me for what I have had to say about the show you love. And to that I say, I love the show too. I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing and talking about this show Dragon Ball if I didn't love it. Next week I'm going to be doing my final analysis of this series from start to finish.
So he liked the Tournament of Power, or how?
Hype.
That's not what we... Yes, it's been said before. Mm-hmm. That's not enough.
It's not
especially
enough
on a rewatch, like he said.
It's not enough for certain people. We are certain people. The hype alone is not good enough for us. But for a lot of people, especially a lot of Dragon Ball consumers, hype is more than enough. In fact, hype might be the only thing they're after. And y'all, stupid One Piece versus Dragon Ball people on Twitter. Can Dragon Ball do this with all those people in the New York, in Madison Square Garden looking at the One Piece thing, and it's just like, this is Spain, and I don't give it.
Dragon Ball was the first anime to break Crunchyroll. So?
See, this is why there was a long time ago when we were talking about the last episode of One Piece and how I thought it'd be cool to be there, and you're like, I don't want those people ruining my experience. And I understand what you mean when I see things like that. Y'all are too fanatical about something that y'all just enjoy.
The superior sequel. 1996's Dragon Ball GT or 2015's Dragon Ball Super? Let's find out.
Which do you think he picks?
Super.
Okay, so first off, right from the top, I wanted to say...
Man. They shouldn't have never let him pick up that pen again. He lost it. Look at Vidal's skinny arms. She looked like a child. Dude, Vegeta looked like he's in 15. They should have just been like, alright, yeah, dude, no.
Love and like about Dragon Ball will obviously inform the decisions made at the end and throughout this video. Therefore, if the things you like about Dragon Ball are different to mine, chances...
Shields up, everyone! Why does he need these qualifiers?
Hey, yo.
How is it this? How has his audience not been conditioned so hard to already expect, oh, just because Mark likes these things or doesn't like these things as much as I don't like or do like these things, doesn't mean that this is the objective review of and what's better?
They need seasonal reminders. Constant.
Is it like their dander is up, and then Mark hits them with just a little head and shoulders to dissipate some of that?
It's just my opinion. Okay. I'll stop my comment because I thought you were being 100% objective.
I can't even say that because there was somebody that asked us to just start saying, in my opinion, when we start doing this.
Great. So that's what it is. People need that.
But why? I never need you to say, before I begin, just know it's my opinion. Or when I'm in the comment section and you reply to me and you just go, this is all just my opinion. I don't need to hear that I know it's your opinion.
But if that's all the YouTubers that you watch, once you see YouTubers that don't do that, you go, this isn't their opinion? They're not saying this is their opinion. I love this shot in the opening where it's zooming in. It's so good.
You will disagree in some shape or form with this video's conclusion, and that is totally okay. With that said, I will try to not make blanket meaningless statements. Any decision I do come to,
I will try to not make
How do you try
meaningless statements. Mark, totally not Mark Fitzpatrick is saying this?
Yeah.
Does he realize crazy. What's going on? Does he know?
Claim I make, I will try to explain my answer and back up my thinking with examples and reasoning as best I can. And
Mark, why not in the One Piece?
Oh Lord.
What happened? Why you fall off in the One Piece?
Oh Lordy Lou.
We're trying to back up. No, I just like these more. No, these are better.
But I like these more.
You can't deny that. All them bums coming into the comments, I love just throwing that in there of just him going, I like these more, but these are better, so it wins. But these are better, but I like these more, so the one I like more wins. It go, okay, what metric are we using here, person? Objectivity, because this one wins because it's better. Subjectivity, this one wins because he likes it more. What are we doing? Man, where was that then?
Now, will he?
No.
So what is his?
What's the metric?
Yeah, what is his thinking of what explaining things are?
Yeah, what does a Mark explanation look like vis-a-vis a?
And we should not have done 5 videos on this guy and not have an answer to this. Cause he's talking about Conor McGregor during Bleach.
More than
and
once.
how Bleach does things differently or better than most other shonen. Because Conor McGregor.
It's about the drive and how we see. Okay, great. Thanks, Mark.
Let's start with our first question. Which series had the better start?
Why does he not explain how he comes up with his categories instead of just going, "No, this is there going to be which one had a better ending? What does it matter which one has a better start? Why didn't you qualify that for One Piece and Dragon Ball?
Because
why?
I have no idea. Actually, I was about to say because it's different series, but no. I mean, I don't know. I don't know why he picked what he picked for One Piece versus Dragon Ball, and I don't know why he picked for what he did for GT versus Super.
It should go without saying that this section could very easily be retitled to which one had the least bad first arc. But let's take a closer look first. Dragon Ball Super's first arc absolutely had its upsides. I thought it did a decent job in establishing the key characters Goku, Vegeta, Whis, and Beerus as they go about their lives and eventually come into conflict with each other.
But are you fine with there just being an angel there and a whole hierarchy that we've never even begun to mention? Even though Supreme Kai is there, he knows about Beerus. Even though Grand Kai knows about Beerus. Even though King Kai knows about Beerus. All these people know about this hierarchy, but not one of them mentioned it. I don't see how you can just be okay with that, first and foremost. Same thing with Frieza. He never mentioned it. I'm the strongest in the universe. He rocks up just like, yeah, my daddy told me not to with Boo and Beerus. What happened to that strongest in the universe stuff? Yeah, this is just not okay. This is hand wave. Yeah, they've always just been here. Whatever.
I wonder if, but you could say the same thing for if he says the beginning of GT has a lot of upside. Can you just ignore things like a Black Star Dragon Balls where it's
I think you can if they are so dangerous that they would blow up the Earth if you use them on Earth. I don't see why somebody like Akami, the Guardian of Earth, would.
Yeah, but where did they come from?
The nameless Namekian made them.
Cool.
Additionally, there's at times some decent humor in the arc, and on top of all of that, the fight with Beerus in certain episodes felt distinctly more fun and enjoyable to me when compared to the movie and manga's interpretations, delving deeper and
delving deeper.
Okay, there we go.
Exploring more into the dynamic of Goku and Beerus. However, that's part.
That's barely.
What? Why?
This is not explained.
When?
You have given the blanket explanation. Please show examples of the differences between the
because
two.
That's what you said you were going to do.
So you would go, for example, here's Beerus and Goku doing this. It's cut down. It's much shorter. But here you can see it more fleshed out. They get more time to talk, more downtime. Whatever your explanation to make you think of this is.
But not just simply saying, no, there's more, so it's better. It's more automatically just better.
However, that's part of this arc's largest issue. It is a remake of a pre-existing film. Dragon Ball Z Battle of Gods was released in 2012 and the Dragon Ball Super's Battle of Gods was created in 2015, which translated to the vast majority of people initially watching the show being very familiar with the story being told already. Despite...
Okay, so when they rock up in Namek, are there not people that are going to be familiar with Namek because they read the manga? I don't think that this is a good argument.
Yeah, like... Are manga readers not enjoying the anime?
Yeah.
Because it is essentially the story being told, but fleshed out,
stretched out, more filler. Yeah, I don't think this is a good argument.
The minor changes to it here and there. Additionally, due to crippling time restraints, the animation staff at Toei were given so little time to actually create this arc that the animation produced in a lot of these first episodes was tragic to say the least. Despite these substantial...
I don't like that narrative because those are in between shots. You're not supposed to freeze frame, and
some of them are absolutely hideous.
Some of them are absolutely hideous, but
I very much feel the same with that one or two gifs during the Naruto Pain fight.
Yeah, or the gif where Sasuke's head is a bit essentially twisted completely around when he does the fireball jutsu. Yeah, that's not what you're supposed to be looking at. Now, understandably, yes, it is ugly, blah 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 blah. But I don't. Again, this animation stuff, I don't really care.
Same.
The final fight with Beerus was largely absent of all of these transgressions. On the flip side of that, the first two episodes of Dragon Ball GT did a fantastic job in setting up the plot quickly and establishing the key characters' personalities.
Question: what constitutes the start?
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. Is it just the first arc? Let me see.
Is it just whatever the setup is to future events? Because I feel like that Battle of Gods was like 9 to 13 episodes. And he's talking about just the first 2 episodes of GT.
So, the Black Star Saga was 22 episodes.
That's probably gathering all of the Dragon Balls.
Beerus DB Super arc. I should have went Battle of Gods. Oh no, I got it. That's fine. And Battle of Gods arc was 15 episodes. So is he going?
I mean, that's fairly comparable.
Arc. We'll see where he goes.
Circumstances and motivations for the coming adventure. Pan specifically had some fantastic introductions to her story. Probably the strongest of all the
such as Mark.
The introductions between these two series so far. Additionally, the entire first...
Cool, Mark. Cool beans. Fantastic.
I will try not to
He said he would explain himself.
Isn't that not an explanation?
Man.
Pan had one of the
insane
arcs of Dragon Ball GT are entirely unique. Upon airing, this story had never before been seen in neither movie nor manga, which, in my opinion, adds to the suspense and mystery of the narrative, assuming that's
I don't give a
Not knowing what happens, in my opinion, adds to the suspense and narrative of
mystery of it.
And mystery of it. Yes. A mystery is founded upon not knowing what's going to happen, Mark. I don't think that that's your opinion.
Yeah, how do you add to the mystery of an anime adopted from the manga? Now, it's different for something like The Boys, which is just so different from the comic. It's just like, what will happen next? This...
Yeah, all y'all that shamed me for putting this bastard into Hall of Fame.
Actually wanted to achieve with it. What's more is that since the show started right after the completion of Dragon Ball Z, the staff in charge of the animation and overall aesthetic largely remained consistent, which meant Dragon Ball GT remained visually good and compatible with Z throughout its first arc. However, with that said, I really didn't like Dragon Ball GT's first arc. And what I mean by that is, I hated Dragon Ball GT's first arc with a passion that burns hotter than 8 billion suns. At no point did it even come
creepy. It got a little pedophilic, but that's fine.
Close to something I could even pretend I was interested in. The first arc of Dragon Ball GT...
Wait, what? I'm sorry, I wasn't.
Point did it even come close to something I could even pretend I was interested in.
He wasn't interested in anything there?
Yeah, couldn't even pretend. You already said that Pan had a good introduction, so you're interested in her character.
Just a straight get to the plot type of man. He's gonna slurp up Demon Slayer. Because part of his issue with one of the Bleach fights was, I'd rather get to the thing with the plot going on, as opposed to this fight that is not in having anything to do with the plot fight going on.
TotallyNotMark.
Yeah, we might as well just have a tab on him.
I'm seeing how he felt about the Foxy arc.
Does everything in his power to force the misdirection of the Straw Hats, and that's essentially the single member of my crew, even if it kills me. What an absolute champion. And with this defiant stand before his maker, legs shaking, breathing uneven,
we saw it, Mark! We saw it!
Knowledge now that the main Navy HQ is in the with good intentions. They, unlike the rest of that mysterious repairman in Skype, wish me luck. But that comes next, and I can't wait to review it for you. Importantly, that both he and his crew, and
I can't even figure out what this bastard thinks about this. Holy crap! Talk! Whatever. I'm going to go ahead and say that he thought it was alright. And somebody can disprove me or prove me right.
First arc of Dragon Ball GT might have even been my least favorite anything I've ever watched in Dragon Ball. Except for... had it not been for that one episode...
I don't think that's true, because you just did... And every Dragon Ball arc. Now, I could just be blown out of the water as you put the Black Star Dragon Ball at the very bottom of the list. I hope that's not what happened, but we shall see. It's at the very bottom of the list.
What's right above it?
Well, it might. Could it? Jesus Christ, Mark. Closer to the left is
Going up.
okay. So is Gogeta is the worst.
And Super 17?
That's what I was just like. Jesus, Mark, what the is wrong with you? Super 17 was alright.
So towards the end of the arc that's centered around Giru or Gil and Pan in the desert, I don't know what I would have done. But I did actually like that one episode. Probably because it wasn't connected to the story of the show's first arc in any way whatsoever. I know I did mention earlier that something...
You don't know why you liked it, Mark? Probably because it wasn't the big narrative, but there's no definitive as to why you liked it. But it's the saving grace of the first 21 episodes? Okay, Mark.
that could have stood in its favor was that it was telling a unique story. And that is true, but I would rather watch a bad retelling of an average story over watching a confused telling of what is to me a terrible story. Thankfully though, things pick up and change rather radically at this point in GT, but it's too little too late. The visuals look good for GT, the first 2 episodes did a lot right, but these aspects aren't enough to save it from what is to me an uncompromisingly boring first arc. And so I gotta give Super the better opening to the story, despite it not being anything new.
Boring is quantifiable for you, Mark, in your subjective opinion. What made it boring? Did you not attach to Trunks?
Hey, I'm going to do my best not to make blanket statements and explain myself. I can't really tell why I didn't like it, but I did. I didn't like it. Except this one episode, which I also couldn't tell you why. But it's just boring.
But this is boring. GT, Super gets it.
And the visuals a lot of the time melting before my eyes, it never
We
was.
got it! Holy crap! That's what animation monkeys get you. When it's not animation pretty, they go, look at this! We got it!
Quite as boring as GT's first, and the instances of enjoyment I found within Super's first arc far outnumber that of GT's first for me. Which has better action?
What were the moments that you enjoyed in the first arc of Super? Because we didn't see that. You didn't explain what those moments were. You just went the introduction of
the comedy is decent.
So I guess we just have to assume that he liked it more because of something. He liked it more because he liked it more. He liked it more because it's average, whereas GT was bad. I'm dying.
I deliberated over this particular section for quite a while. Not because the answer wasn't obvious to me, but because I wanted to make sure I was covering all my bases. The quality of a particular show's action, especially a 2D animated series' action, leans heavily on the quality of its animation and overall direction. The direction includes things like storyboarding and overall composition of shots. It may not seem too important to some of you, but shot composition is the difference between making a fight look boring or thrilling. Shot composition and editing specifically is what...
Could you show me a boring composition and an exciting composition, please,
and
Mark?
Explain the differences, please, because you go, it may not be obvious to some of you. No, it's not obvious to me, Mark. Educate me. Don't just say there's a difference. Explain what that difference is.
Now, will he?
No!
What makes editors like Edgar Wright as successful as they are, and what makes animated sequences like those from Naotoshi Shida look as incredible as they do. Yes, it looks cool, but have you ever thought about what makes it look cool? It's the overly exaggerated angles, massive expressions, and timing of the sequences, knowing when to make a close-up and when to swoop to a medium and long shot, all the while keeping in mind the context of the scene and integrity of the characters.
Was that a good shot?
I truly didn't know. It looked like a fairly whatever shot to me. A sweeping zoom out and a pan down from a close-up.
And this is where he could go. And now look at this boring ta shot of them just.
But would that be fair?
But that's not
because
fair.
Super does the same thing.
I understand, but it'd be something. But you could go...
You can't cherry pick the good of Super and the bad. It's just like with the Dragon Ball versus One Piece thing where he said, my dad walked in and watched this fight and he instantly connected, but he wouldn't understand with Nami crying. Well, of course not. That's not a fair comparison. But if it was just a fight of Luffy versus Arlong, he could get just as attached.
But he could make a very good comparison by going Dragon Ball Fighters versus the actual what they're referencing. And he could go, look how the arms are very exaggerated, the poses, how they zoom in and they sweep the eyes and stuff like that, and they leave like trails behind. This sort of thing can enhance it because it seems like their arm is bigger than life, and then the blast coming out of the arm, and that's the focus. Whereas over here, yeah, it's a big blast, and yeah, you get what you need, but this shot show that could be something, because you know, you can see the side-by-side comparisons of like Trunks doing the sword swipe to Zamasu, and see how it zooms in around and stuff like that. That'd be something to explain. And this is just me going, I don't care about this stuff, but this is a comparison to be had.
But
whereas Mark just going, you gotta know when to do the shots.
Know when to do a close-up and the pan out. Instead of, I guess, just a hard cut to a pan out. So is the zoom out, the pan out, what makes it dynamic and good, as opposed to just a close-up and then a hard cut of the fight?
He could be like, the close-up is so that we can see Gohan's reaction to the action. The mid shot is the actual action, and the wide shot is we get everybody's reaction to the action. And that all comes together.
And we get to see the destruction of just how powerful it is.
That's how you could do that. I don't know if that's what it was, but in a hypothetical, that's what it was. That's how you could explain it, instead of just going, you see a long shot of the dude coming up and punching, and then they just start punching. And that's just a boring, flat shot. That'd be like, okay, imagine that. Or just show something.
Imagine.
Just a boring, flat shot of somebody coming up and doing a big punch, and then you go, okay, that was kind of a boring, flat shot. And then you get that in your mind and going, okay, that's what he means by dynamic. Not just going, you gotta know when to do this thing. How do you know when to do the thing? What is the purpose of them doing that thing in that moment?
What made it enhance it in that moment? And why was that the moment to enhance the shot? Was it fairly middling and boring, and then it got this enhanced shot? Is it nothing but a bunch of enhancements and then a couple down moments to get back up to the enhancements? What was it about that specific time that made it good in that specific moment, in that specific way?
There's tons to consider when talking about the visuals of an action scene, and even that's ignoring the narrative element of an action scene, which to me is one of the most important components in making them compelling. Dragon Ball GT, as I mentioned earlier, is easily the more visually consistent out of the two, and Dragon Ball Super really felt like it was barely treading water in that department for the first 4...
Visually consistent, are you talking about all of the visuals, including the shot composition, or are you just talking about animation and stuff? Because what is bad exactly about the shot compositions and things like that in Dragon Ball Super? Or are the shot compositions just okay, but the bad animation drags it down? Whereas in Dragon Ball GT, it's all across the board 7s. I don't know. I hate making Mark's videos for him.
Good thing he's gonna explain everything to us. Ooh.
The series, I draw attention to all of these variables because I want you all
Best
to know that
transformation.
coming to this decision wasn't something I didn't think about long and hard over. But I have come to a decision. Dragon Ball Super, for me, without reservation, has the better, more interesting action sequences. I say this not because I think the animation in Dragon Ball GT's action sequences were subpar, or that Dragon Ball GT didn't have some spectacular action sequences, but thinking back on my time watching the two series, not a single fight in the first arc of GT stands out to me. The Super 17 fight I personally found excessively bland and uninteresting, and I have similar feelings towards the majority of the Shadow Dragon saga.
Bland and uninteresting. Why, Mark? I understand Mark has a full in-video series over there that explains his theories, hopefully in depth. I don't trust it.
Trust it.
That's
especially
not what,
since he said in this video he wouldn't make blanket statements.
And bill of goods. He done sold us.
He keeps selling them bills. What? So many bills and you can't pay them.
I'm just sick of this. Why did you find it bland? What about the shot compositions was bland and boring in that? What about the fight? What about the narrative in the fight? Who knows?
Hey, I found found a lot of Super fights uninteresting now that I'm thinking about it.
Yeah, mostly the Frieza stuff. That's a wash because
completely dead to me.
In Frieza, he's just stronger, and Goku's fighting him, and they're both just playing around. And then Vegeta comes in, and he's clearly stronger than Frieza, and he's just playing around. And then
the first tournament,
bunch of nobodies,
doing
Winnie the Pooh,
not fun
Frost versus in Piccolo,
Goku Black. And then the final tournament.
Goku Black, man, it's a lot of atatas, and then Goku Black just going, I don't know how I did that. Oh, great. The character don't know, so who cares how he did that?
I'd love a lot of the action provided by the Baby Saga. Goku's fight with General Rildo, Baby Gohan versus Vegeta, as well as some action scenes with Goten.
Why?
Were really interesting to me. But even then, I didn't really enjoy the final battle with Baby, as again, it all looked very safe, and for the most part, fighting a giant monkey gets really stale very fast. Additionally,
it looks safe, but a tiny Goku grabs a giant monkey and hip tosses him.
It looks very safe. So is the dynamicism, if that's the word I want to use there, the dynamicness, I don't know, is the dynamicism of the fights better than the subparness of the fights when the subparness happens? Because there's more dynamic and there's more chances taken, even though you get basically stick figure fights sometimes.
Are the highs as high as the lows are low?
And in that instance, is being safe bad? It's being bad okay, and being very good great over being pretty good throughout.
Is it better to be okay and taking a risk?
Is it better to be bad and good taking a risk rather than pretty good but playing it safe? You haven't explained why one is better than the other.
There wasn't too much interesting in the way of animation, visual direction, or even narrative direction. The most memorable shot to me from the entire series, however, has to be the Spirit Bomb at the very, very end. The color employed and how it's drawn just feels so satisfying to look at, and it's literally the only instance from GT I have in my spare...
He was so close.
Missed it by that much.
That much. This was the best shot of it all. The colors employed. I'm like, oh, made it very interesting. Okay, what else? Contrast to the background, the bright blue of
Goku's gi.
Just the color, huh? Okay, Mark.
How it's drawn just feels so satisfying.
How it's drawn. How it's the color and how it's drawn
just feels so satisfying. Don't look at me.
End. The color employed and how it's drawn just feels so satisfying to look at, and it's literally the only instance from GT I have in my spare time decided to look up for fun. Keeping all of that in mind, when I...
Okay, so Dragon Ball is the big pretty, and because of that, it's got better action? What about the fights themselves? What about the way, the strategy within it?
Hey,
the way punches are... What about them? The composition means it's a better fight. The colors mean it's a better fight.
Action, this one.
Better action.
But he's talking about a spirit bomb as he's standing stationary and holding up his arms.
'Cause the colors.
And the way it's drawn.
I think about Dragon Ball Super, I can think of a number of compelling action moments. Goku's fight with Beerus in episodes 11 and 14. Goku and Vegeta's training with Whis. Goku versus...
What are you talking about? You're just giving me numbers. I don't know those numbers. I don't know what happens in those episodes. Episode 11 and 14? What specific shots are you talking about, Mark?
What's compelling about them?
What's compelling about them? What compelled you, Mark?
Not just that.
You're showing me a still shot of Goku looking up. You
I
saw
don't
all
know
this
who
action
he's fighting.
bullshit. You saw all this action bullshit of GT just like, oh, it's stilted in a 17 fighting uninteresting. And you showed it. Fighting a giant monkey gets boring. And you showed it.
He could literally be
11, episode 11 and 14 of Super, the fight with Beerus.
He could be fighting Botamo, Frost, or Hit in this moment. I don't know.
Just...
Frost, Goku versus Hit, Vegeta versus Kaba, Vegeta, and Hit, Trunks versus Black, Vegito versus Fuse Zamasu, Frieza versus Toppo,
He's
Goku...
just naming things.
Bro, you're not showing the moves. How can you... I
I could just go the trio versus the Para brothers and just name it and just go, there's my
There's
proof.
so many
I named
interesting
it.
shots. 17 versus Goku. Baby versus Vegeta. Baby versus Goku. Baby versus Goten. Nova Shinron versus Goku. Do you see that you don't know what I'm talking about? Because I don't know what I'm talking about.
Hey, I didn't need to watch GT. Guess who? Whoa, wasted his time. Oh, whoops. Better spent. Oh, no.
Did you enjoy it?
For the most, I enjoyed
Then your time
revisiting it.
was not wasted.
I enjoyed looking at the hyperbolic people saying that this is horrible and it ruined their childhood and all this other stuff.
Because it wasn't the big Z bush.
And I could easily go on. The sheer level of quality and variety in some of these is honestly spectacular to me. Dragon Ball Super...
What are you talking about, Mark?
Man, I just feel like just letting them go. Just not even.
Dude, it's pissing me off though.
You got
he
it.
literally.
How much longer can we?
How many more times can we pause and just go, Mark, what are you talking about? Mark, can you please show what you're talking about?
Having a rough start when it came to the animation, as the series progressed, the highest heights the series would reach visually superseded any episode of Dragon Ball GT, and I would even argue Dragon Ball Z. Episode 130 of Dragon Ball Super has more impressive movement and animation than any other single episode in the entire franchise.
Hey, did you see how Jiren wiggled a little bit there? I guess that's what he's looking for. I guess that's all it takes.
I guess movement is a positive.
What was the fight good?
On top of all of this, best fights within Super have left a lasting impression on me, unlike the best of Dragon Ball GT.
I don't remember from Goku Black. Maybe 2 things. What's up, Chris?
What you gotta talk about that time?
Totally Not Mark. Dragon Ball GT versus Super.
Oh. Did you make it recently?
Oh, this was 2 years ago.
Oh.
2020.
About 2.5, as a matter of fact.
I guess I'm not totally not Mark.
No, workshop it.
The wheels were turning as you were saying it. Like, I guess I'm not a totally. How do I do this?
Totally not.
Bail.
Totally not smart. Damn, is that a wrestling term?
Yeah, smart is a wrestling term.
Only wrestling? Damn.
Only wrestling. Nobody's gonna. You could have just said totally not a Mark.
That would have been good.
Better. Damn it. Sorry, guys. This is a Chris cameo.
Yeah, y'all want the rechristen it? Get the out of here.
Y'all
Y'all
know.
want Chris Sweep? Get out of here.
And like I said, with the y'all want Totally Not Mark month. Y'all don't know what y'all want with Chris, all right?
Hey, I could provide some bangers. Maybe.
All right, get out because we do want to finish this. I want to watch football. I don't want to be here.
Be done with this.
I don't want to be here.
Naturally, however, that could largely be down to me being exposed to one product more than the other, and that's a very fair argument, but I can't really control for that. However, one thing that plays into the success of a particular fight scene, for many of us, is how effective a particular story's arc antagonists are. So, for the next section, let's discuss Dragon Ball GT's and Super's villains and antagonists. Which series were better? Unlike the previous section, I thought this one was going to be a cakewalk for Dragon Ball Super. But after going back over the series, while there are more antagonists I enjoyed than GT in Super, I think GT has a very good argument for having the best antagonist when looking at the two series side by side.
Hit?
He was an antagonist.
No, he sucks, is what I'm saying.
Oh, but you didn't like his... What's his personality?
Stoic.
Stoic? Calm, cool guy?
I'm improving, Goku.
Before your
This is
very
the
eyes.
stance. What else is he?
Don't look at... What are we doing? What funny hit moments?
No, I'm looking up Hit Dragon Ball Super, and they're gonna have a personality.
Dragon Ball Super is a hit.
Personality. Hit is stoic and composed, constantly appearing emotionless and indifferent to most events. An expert in his craft. An expert in his craft is not a personality.
No.
There's a period, not a comma there. Hit shows great confidence and fortitude in any challenge presented before him.
I can win.
Hit also seems to be quite competent in his abilities, showing a very no-nonsense attitude, indifferent and emotionless. You're just saying it in a different way.
They really just essayed this. 5th grade essayed this.
He is straight to the point and speaks no more than necessary. Jesus Christ.
Dude, this is really just going, hit is hit.
To which Hit will carry out his contracts no matter whom his targets may be. That's not a personality trait. More to his unwavering commitment and resolve, even when at a disadvantage.
Resolve, dang.
Hit refuses to back down from a challenge, choosing to face his opponent head on, as noted by Kaba. Yeah, legitimately.
That was sad.
This just stinks.
That was a poopy.
Stoic and straightforward. How is there 4 paragraphs of this?
Each paragraph is just saying the previous paragraph. That's how you do it. They had 4 statements in the first paragraph, 3 statements in the first paragraph, my bad, and they just reiterated it.
Man.
While I really didn't like Super 17 and didn't enjoy the Shadow Dragons and well, Lewd makes me want to eat my own face, Baby is very much a fantastic diamond amidst a sea of rough patches.
Okay, so you mentioned all those bad ones, and you mentioned a good one.
And then
so all we need to do is find one Dragon Ball super villain who matches Baby, and then one more who's half as good as Baby, and now it's all better.
More is that when taking stock of the antagonists within Dragon Ball Super, there really was only one name that came up to challenge Baby for me. Not Hit, not Frieza, and definitely not Jiren, Goku Black. And while I could...
Goku Black sucked.
Goku Black really did suck. But
Zamasu sucks.
The other ones sucked as well. They all suck. Except for Beerus.
I like Toppo.
No.
I couldn't even shrug my shoulders with the I like Toppo?
No.
Oh, okay.
Easily choose to include Zamasu in this equation with Goku Black. I've said in the...
I understand, commenter. We did not mention the picture. That's fine. You can mention
Why
it
would
should
we?
you want. All right?
The funny gay. Like, what do you want us to do with it?
Where do we go from here?
Past that Zamasu, I think, is distinctly different to Black in how he acts and talks a lot of the time, and so I've decided to go for the stronger character of the two in this instance. So, who's a better antagonist? Babe?
Antagonists, plural? Well, we're gonna break it down to an antagonist, singular.
So we're just going your favorite versus your favorite and disregarding all else.
This is
to figure out who Dragon Ball
But I'm
Super...
not gonna make blanket statements like who has the best antagonist. Well, I like Baby better than Black, so that's the one.
So now Dragon Ball GT has the better antagonist because Baby is better than Goku Black. Even though I hated all the other ones.
All the others are 2 and Baby's a 10, whereas Super, all the others are 4 and Goku Black is a 9. So clearly, GT wins, correct?
It's simple.
That's the way it works, right?
It's math.
It's
You pair
just
one
math.
thing up against one thing, and then that one thing wins everything for that thing. Why have basketball games when you could just have one-on-ones and then your entire team won?
All right, Steph, Bron, get out here.
Get on out here.
This is the finals.
Goku Black. Well, right off the bat, Baby is a really creative concept, and Goku Black,
He cannot legitimately be synopsising and or analyzing the betterness of these two when we're trying to learn the better antagonists for the series in general.
Okay, so based on what he said, Baby is a...
All right, let me go back.
or Goku Black. Well, right off the bat, Baby is a really creative concept, and
A
Goku...
creative concept. Botamo is a creative concept. That's all that you said, Mark.
Moro is a creative concept.
Yes, he is. But that's the manga, so...
I don't care, but he sucks. I don't care about a creative concept. Do something with it.
I'm simply
I don't
going-
care if a Dragon Ball villain is just a giant hand with a face in the middle finger. If nothing is done with it. I don't care if the Dragon Ball villain is a Goku. As long as you do something tremendous with them.
I'm simply going the lack of his words and explanations and simply going, this is my favorite from GT.
Right off the bat,
Well,
he's unique.
He's unique. Okay, so... And then you move right on over to Goku Black. So that's your opening gambit.
What's the last Dragon Ball Super manga arc?
Granola, the survivor.
Wasn't Granola basically a baby?
Yes.
Bad. Baby is a really creative concept, and Goku Black, well, let's be honest, isn't. The idea of an evil Goku looks to be, at a cursory glance, overly simplistic and uninspired. Also, the appearance of him isn't foreshadowed or...
Okay, so somebody wanting revenge for their slain worlds. Mm-hmm. How is that unique? Are you talking about his powers? Because are you saying that Goku Black does not have unique powers?
Are you talking about his design? Not concept and design are two different things. So
I don't know what Mark is talking about here.
I would say that Goku Black is the more interesting concept, not off the bat. I guess that's what he means, right off the bat. I'm taking revenge for my planet with the Saiyans that say, instead of just, I am Goku but evil and you don't know what's going on.
I think that that's more unique because we've had 30 years of Goku being this super altruistic dude.
But
it's like,
we know
what happened to make him this?
But we know it's not Goku. That's the point.
Do we know it's not Goku?
Because we've seen Turles. We've seen these cucks come up looking like a Goku. Just like, I am you're not Goku.
But Turles was a movie.
I don't know what that means.
I think that is a lot more unique than just a simple revenge plot. If we're just talking about the story around them and not their powers and abilities and stuff like that.
Hey, this is a fantastic ratio.
I just want to get out of here.
That in a prior arc. He just sort of comes out of nowhere as something entirely new, which makes it feel very tagged on in post rather than something that was premeditated and planned for.
So, how do you foreshadow a future Trunks arc? Are you supposed...
Indeed.
I guess you meet Zamasu now, but you don't see Zamasu, you see Goku Black. So how?
I mean this in speaking about the concept, not in practice. I'll talk about that in a second. On the flip side, GT's baby character legitimately feels unnerving to me, and while it does feel like a derivative of both...
Whoa, 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 whoa.
On the flip side, GT's baby character legitimately feels unnerving to me, and while it does feel like a derivative of both Boo and Cell combined, the concept of a Toffle-engineered parasite that wishes to take revenge on the Saiyans that took over their world is not only creative, but extremely well integrated and most importantly, believable within the new continuity.
Pause.
Well,
But
integrated how?
But does it not come out of nowhere?
Yeah, it's the same thing. It's not really foreshadowed in time. Like, are you gonna say Granola was foreshadowed because it's at the very end of another arc? That's not.
Making it once again feel like much more of a larger story rather than a segmented one. With that said, I think the dialogue scenes Black takes part in really steal the show for me.
Say the line, Black. 素晴らしい.
From his grand reveal all the way through him
The
revealing more.
lines. And he says one. Not like a monologue of how humans or mortals are evil or unjust or whatever. But just that. So now we just have to imagine what lines he's talking about that makes it like.
Oh, I agree, Mark. I'm thinking of the lines myself right now. I'm glad you left that so blanketed and open-ended so I could implant my own thoughts into
Hey,
it.
didn't he say he wasn't gonna do that?
It's been like 11 minutes. I don't remember that anymore.
Information about his origin through his tormenting of Trunks. He is definitely the character that possesses the more charisma of the two. Baby isn't bad, but he very much felt like all the most generic parts of a Dragon Ball Z villain when he spoke. So, taking that into consideration, it all depends.
Like what? Like what did he say that made him sound like a generic villain? The most generic parts of it. Especially when you said that he's a mix of Super Boo, not his Kid Boo, and Cell. How is he like Cell? Is he super arrogant? Is he more haha all mine, perfect, my planet?
Frieza tortured Vegeta. What's the difference?
Oh, well, if only we knew what Mark was talking about, then we know what Mark was talking about, huh?
Depends on which one you feel carries the more weight. I'm honestly...
I really don't want to finish this video now. Dude, we're halfway through.
I mean,
Can
we could just let it rock and we could
just walk away. I think we've transformed it enough.
This is legally allowed.
Sort of undecided. Both have their ups and their downsides, but one thing I will say is that I very much disliked what Baby's final transformation turned out to be in GT, whereas in Super I very much thoroughly liked how Fuse Zamasu turned out in all his oozy purple
I guess
glory.
we gotta watch all these videos to figure out why he doesn't like Baby and why he does like. Why would he structure it like this?
Do we? Because will he explain it?
In addition to all of this, both of these forms are fantastic for their visual storytelling and neither get the appreciation they deserve, so I'm gonna do that right now. The giant ape Baby becomes and the crazed monster Black and Zamasu become are perfect representations and physical manifestations of their negative arc spiraling out of control. In other words, these forms create instances where these antagonists become exactly what they hated. In the case of Goku Black, he becomes not a divine, beautiful, perfect entity, but a crazed, gruesome, ugly maniac bent on destroying.
Cosmic irony. Such good story tells. Themes.
Life itself. And with Baby, he was designed to be the answer to the evil Saiyans that wrongly conquered their world, but ended up being exactly what he was designed to protect others from, a monstrous alien force that aims to crush a land that is not his own. I love this about both of these characters, and while I don't like aspects from both too, I think Goku Black's ultimate defeat when he's sliced by Trunks' sword looks more visually interesting than what GT did. And while I know it makes no
Why are we back to visuals in action?
Is that going to be the deciding factor?
Wait,
Is this going to be
what
the
does his
deciding
death have to do with them being a
There's
villain?
no way this is about to be the deciding factor.
by Trunks' sword looks more visually interesting than what GT did. And while I know it makes no sense for Trunks to do that, there were plenty of instances in the finish to Baby's ultimate defeat that didn't make sense either and didn't look nearly as interesting. But then again, the Goku Black arc has the worst ending in the entire series. This is honestly the toughest decision I've made so far. Both are great in different aspects and awful in others, but in the interest of being fair, I think right now Baby as an antagonist offered a lot of opportunity to create unique encounters in the arc he led the charge for, and was most certainly used effectively for the majority of the arc. And while I think
Offered unique chances to make...
I'm not going back. I'm not hearing that again. I'm not listening to Mark again. Why do y'all want a Mark month? I don't.
They don't. They want the idea of a Mark month.
Maybe they just want the most of us suffering. And they know a Mark month is something that is feasible that we would do. Because we're not doing Anime Sins Wins month.
Absolutely.
That's a 0.
We can't even do a stream of it.
It'll be 40 minutes and we'll go, we gotta stay for the people at least. We gotta give them something. It's been 2 minutes.
Let's let it rock.
Let's let it rock. We are dragging ourselves across the finish line to be allowed to tap. It's like going around the board once before you could buy properties in Monopoly. We can't just have you do 2 doubles and then another one and just get 3 properties off the. That's not fair.
Back offered a lot of that too. I think what Baby offered was much more unique and inspired in comparison. That was hard. Let's do something a little more easy now. Something a little lighter.
And that's why GT wins villains. You have to remember that, y'all.
That's what it was about.
That's what it was about.
The whole time.
He pitted one villain against another. This bastard did that in the DBZ versus One Piece.
He said, I like these better. These 2 or I think it was 4 more than these 4. Beginning and end of message.
Something I'm sure won't lead to a massive argument in the comment section. Let's talk about which show had the better music. I want the
I don't. This is one it's just gonna rock.
Yeah.
There's nothing.
To show that before I get into this, I love both the scores from Dragon Ball GT and Dragon Ball Super. While Super's music left a lot to be desired early on in the series for the exact same reasons the animation suffered early on, as the series began progressing further into the story, it very much found its footing in the latter half of the series, with tracks and various motifs surrounding the second OP as my personal favorites, and
You're
the
such a
always
smart
impactful
man, Mark.
Super Saiyan Blue theme.
was.
But despite
So
loving the tracks
impactful.
in the latter
I
half
can
of the
hum it
Sumitomo
right
Dragon
now.
Ball Super
Here I go.
catalog, I cannot seem to get around my clear preference for what Dragon Ball GT offered in the way of music. The variety of it, as well as the gorgeous flutes and trumpets, offer a
there
natural
was a
yet
variety
distinct
and
continuation
flutes
to the
and
original
trumpets.
Kikuchi Dragon Ball score. And that's not even talking about GT's theme song. And no, I'm not talking about... I'm talking about this. The various leitmotifs surrounding this particular piece of music, which the
Dude,
show
they
chose to represent
incorporate
adventure
Don
and
Don
friendship,
so
never gets old
fucking
for me.
much.
Culminating at the very end, where it always brings a tear to my eye. It's got
Don
this
Don
wonderfully
is the
nostalgic quality
hypest.
to it and feels distinctly Dragon Ball. The easy winner of this section for me goes to Dragon Ball GT. And next up is characterization. Which series did more for its characters?
What do you mean more for its characters?
I guess showcased them more? Explored them more?
Who grew more?
Ah.
Dragon Ball GT actively didn't do a single thing with any of its characters in terms of character development. One obvious glaring...
You can't.
Anything you learn about a character, anything new you learn about a character is technically character development. Showcasing their past, their motivations, their personality, that is character development. Because as a character stands there right now, you know nothing about them. And then once they do something or say something, they become more fleshed out, more three-dimensional.
They don't have to
develop
change
as a
in
character.
order to-
They do not need to change. They do not need to have some great revelation. They don't need to do any of these things to have character development. So to say that they had zero character development is an outright lie. If that's what he said. I can't remember if he said 0.
Thing with any of its characters in terms of character development.
Didn't
One
do a single
obvious
thing.
glaring candidate for a potential character arc recipients program was Pan. Pan is a tough, headstrong, but naive girl who was
Did you know that before? Because if you didn't, that means there was development. There was fleshing out of the character, correct?
Begging to develop into a more complete vision of the character.
More complete vision of what character?
What do you mean more complete?
What are you talking about?
Do you mean less headstrong? What?
More introspection? And just like, I can't be that anymore? Because that's what people think development is. Introspection and, dang, I was a shit.
Gains an appreciation for what it really takes to be a true hero of the earth, like her grandpa, and to earn the respect of her family and friends in the process. But no?
That's a plot line. That's not character development.
How is gaining the respect? How is gaining respect from other people developing you?
Unless it's something like Naruto, who had been ignored and hated by the village, and then they grow to respect them through his actions and stuff. But no, you don't even need to do that. They could just turn around one day and go, I respect that young man for sticking it out this whole time. Everybody hated him and he still goes to school. I respect him. I guess he developed as a character. Again, that's not character development. That's like a plot line. I'm trying to be the protector of Earth. What does it mean to be that, Grandpa? That is a plot line. That's a setup and a payoff to a plot line. She tries to learn what it is, and then she learns at the end what it means. That is a plot line. But again, if she did have that motivation, the motivation itself is character development because we know what she wants and it's something new. How do these people keep thinking that character development is so pigeonholed into these
Gotta throw all that out the window so that she can cause Goku problems in the story because nothing in the show could possibly fulfill that particular writing necessity for them. Oh wait, in place of Pan, Dragon Ball Super has Stupid Super Goku, where he will actively antagonize individuals that won't give him attention and will forget crucial parts of the game plan just to create artificial tension for a scene because the writers couldn't come up with anything a little more creative. I think it's safe.
So, not developing a character enough in your eyes is nowhere near as bad as actively making a character who has existed for 30 plus years extremely stupid for no reason. There is no comparison. I don't even know why this comparison is being made.
Is he, again, doing a character versus a character?
Because why would he not just go Goku versus Goku?
Say that both have their own low points and disappointments in this particular section. But
no, Pam was disappointing because she didn't do the storyline you thought she should have did.
Wanted.
Alas, I have to choose one. Dragon Ball.
Why do you have to choose one?
1v1 again? What about all the side characters? What about the other main characters of the arc? What about Goku himself versus Goku himself? The way GT handled Goku versus...
GT introduces very few new characters. I suppose we are reintroduced in some way to individuals like Trunks and Goten, but...
Okay, he is going through the whole thing, I guess. That's good. Jesus Christ.
Really, they both do very little in the story. In the case of Trunks, I found him to be pretty bland and only there essentially to drive Goku around the place and make tech magic happen. At least when Bulma did it, she was an active character with agency, whereas Trunks is very much a quiet, reserved, nothing character that reacts to things happening to him rather than him causing the plot to happen. The only recurring new...
There is no problem with that.
Yes, absolutely none. You can have...
character really was Giru or Gil, and while I really liked him later in the show, he is but a small flickering light amidst an ocean of darkness. Another character I enjoyed far more than I thought I would in GT.
Wow, you didn't even explain why you liked him. He's just a flickering light in an ocean of darkness.
was Goten. His lady killer persona is a strangely great fit for him, and I was interested to see more from him beyond the brief glimpses we ended up getting. But
why is it a great fit for him? This is essentially a whole new character that was created for this moment. He had one line at the end of Z going, "Oh man, I don't want to be doing this fight stuff. I got a date." But this lady stuff was never seen in the 50, 60, 70, 80 chapters of the Boo arc that we saw as a kid. So this is a completely fabricated character that's just created, and now you just go, "Yep, there he is." It's fit
so
for him.
fitting.
Why does it fit for him?
Because
Mark?
they made it fit. They just wrote a character that was a lady killer well, I guess, in Mark's eyes. Because it didn't fit who he was before. It fit more Trunks, if anything.
by surprise, we got nothing more. Unfortunately, I have to give this section to Dragon Ball Super, because they at the very least tried to deliver moments that eventually led to something for their respective characters. GT didn't even
Who? Where? Who is he talking about? He could have just said, look at how Vegeta's grown with the "I won't leave Bulma while she's about to have a baby."
Yeah, easily.
Or he'll make a fool out of himself to protect his family. As opposed to before, he blew himself up and wanted to be that mean person. Now he'll throw away all of his pride for, why are we making your videos for you?
Try. The instances where we got to see Vegeta training Kaba, or the ridiculously fast minor development Gohan got to experience in the Tournament of Power, led to some wonderful interactions in the endgame. On top of all of that, the conversation...
So, is something bad leading to something good worth it? Is that a positive? Because you have to go, yes, this is good, but how did we get here? Oh, this little Saiyan rocks up, and base to base, he's equal with Vegeta, who's been training with gods? And that leads to good stuff later? Okay. And Gohan closes his eyes and trains for a day, and he's on Goku Blue level? Okay.
Yeah, we need it to happen.
And then he picks up a locket like, oh, fam, okay, we got it, Super. You don't need to be that heavy-handed.
I don't think you got it. Maybe we should flash back to the person he just defeated, just so you know that that's the person Gohan personally defeated, and his family is gone now along with him. And I like how the locket is the last thing to disappear.
Nuts.
Participated in from before his involvement in the tournament all the way through to his conclusion are not only highlights in the series.
No, you just love Frieza. Frieza did nothing more or less than what Frieza typically does. You just love Frieza.
Of Super, but also the entire Dragon Ball franchise for me. So, surprisingly and somewhat disappointingly, with ease I assert that Dragon Ball Super did more for its characters than GT did. And so,
No, more for their characters you didn't... I'm just done saying you didn't explain and pausing
No, you're
to say...
not. No, you're not.
No, I'm done pausing and saying you didn't explain.
The next section, which works better as a story continuation? There's two ways of interpreting this question. Should I look at how the arcs of the given series informed and created the foundation?
It has to be GT because it's an actual continuation of the story, whereas Dragon Ball Super is not.
Yeah.
It doesn't continue anything from the end of Z. It's that mid, so it can't be a good story continuation. If you're talking about something purely that comes after Z, in terms of airing date, absolutely. But story continuation? No, this does not continue the story. It actively detracts from it because there's so many contradictions here.
The arcs of the given series informed and created the foundation for subsequent arcs? Or should I look at the difference in the story created for its meta-narrative as it progressed? But before I discuss that, I want to mention something that I'm sure will be brought up in the comments section. The fact that Dragon Ball Super had 2 arcs centered around tournaments will not be something I'll hold against the series. The original Dragon Ball TV show ran for 153 episodes, and 3 of the arcs were based around tournaments. And so I wanted to be clear that I'm not holding Dragon Ball Super to any special standard other than what I would hold the...
How many arcs did Dragon Ball have?
In my mind, I want to go 8.
Wikipedia. Why do you start with Jocko the Galactic Patrolman?
Where else would I start?
Emperor Peel tournament, Red Ribbon, General Blue, Commander Red, Fortune Teller Baba, Tien, King Piccolo, Piccolo Jr., 9, Tien, Piccolo, and
The last one you named were 10.
No, I'm.
Oh, you're combining those.
No, I'm putting down my fingers for the tournaments, and that was
Okay.
Tien, the Piccolo one, and the Jackie Chun one,
Mm-hmm.
and now we're left with 7 arcs.
Yep.
So 7 arcs were not tournaments, whereas
And 3 arcs were tournaments.
whereas with Dragon Ball Super we have Battle of Gods, Frieza tournament, Goku Black tournament. 5 arcs. 2 of them being tournaments.
Which is 40%? 40% of Super is tournaments?
I think that's a lot.
40% of arcs is tournaments because episode-wise...
Yeah, I was just about to say that. The Tournament of Power is also so darn chunky.
Rest of the series too. Dragon Ball happens to have a long history of tournament arcs, and I enjoy all of them for one reason or another. But I digress. What do I think to be a better continuation of the story? Well, this is difficult. Simply because the story each series attempts to tell occupies a different area of the Dragon Ball timeline. GT takes place long after the events of Dragon Ball Z's end with Goku confronting Oob at the World Tournament, and Super takes up right after the events of the Buu Saga's finish, attempting to fill in the missing portion of the timeline between the Buu arc and end of Z. And right off the bat, I have massive issues with the approach both of these series have taken, and substantial pros in favor of each one also. Firstly, Dragon Ball Super I thought did a much better job at continuing the tone of Dragon Ball Z into its telling before eventually establishing its own voice gradually along the way. Whereas the segmented, disjointed
That's what gradually means.
nature of it
I don't think that it did a very good job because it was action, and then if you go over to Super, it is the first episode of a Tractor and Goten and Trunks trying to buy a ring or something.
Yeah, it was a lot of slice of life, downtime type of stuff.
The Beerus stuff doesn't happen really until like episode 2 or 3, so I don't think it's a very good continuation, especially since it's such a slow burn up into the Beerus stuff. I don't know.
left a lot to be desired. Regarding this particular topic in Dragon Ball GT, the first arc informs the events of the second, and the third informs the events of the final. There were substantial...
But does it do a good job of carrying the feeling of Dragon Ball Z over to GT like you praised for Super? Does it do a good job for that? Why are you praising other things that you didn't...
I can't praise things now?
No, you can. But you need
then cool.
Efforts made during GT's development to tie the events of GT together to make it feel like a larger, more grand tale. This is the same philosophy implemented in the arcs of Z, like the Saiyan, Namek, and Android arcs. However, in saying that, Dragon Ball GT, despite having a direct continuation to Dragon Ball Z in 1996, is an entirely different type of show right off the bat. While yes, the original run of Dragon Ball is centered around adventure and somewhat episodic storytelling, it also wasn't burdened by having to follow up and continue off of anything else. And so while the Saiyan saga of Dragon Ball Z is distinctly different to the beginning of Dragon Ball, it wasn't a jarring shift in focus because they had spent 2 prior arcs dealing with subjects and circumstances that allowed the shift to feel far more natural. Nothing about going from...
Just Piccolo? And you go, look, it's Piccolo again.
There was a lot of lighthearted stuff in both of those arcs before we got into Z, which was a lighthearted first episode and then immediately into the danger.
And he's acting like the whole space stuff didn't have fighting and action, and I don't know what he wanted. Did he just want that continuation of, look, it's just like that? It's going from boom to boom to boom.
Tonally shifting. But no, you can't say that because Super was super comedic for the first couple episodes. So it wasn't... What was more jarring about the way Super was than the way GT was?
From the end of Z to GT felt natural for me personally, just an extremely jarring tonal shift. And so, despite me really disliking how Dragon Ball Super did far little in comparison to GT in tying their arcs together, I personally found Super to be a far less jarring experience when going from Z to Dragon Ball Super.
That is not a good metric of which to say that that's the better version, because I was less jarred going to the...
You didn't hear him say jarring twice in a sentence?
I don't... That's the least of my worries with Mark at this moment.
Is it?
And that brings us to the final segment. Which series...
Why? It's already over. So Brad, like 8 categories.
delivered the better ending. This being the section I actually spent the most time on, as I sort of kept going back and forth, but in the end...
GT!
Yeah. It was a tournament ending we didn't get to see in Android 17's family because Toriyama couldn't be bothered to design them bastards. No, sir, my hand hurts today.
And Toei couldn't do it because that's not what I want.
And then they just kind of fought and we move on.
And finally had to make a decision. Both of these intellectual properties have incredibly strong but very different approaches to how they conclude their respective series.
Super was not incredibly strong. It was
a big fight.
It was a fight. They won. He gave a wish to bring everybody back. He got his boat.
But 17, you want to wish countless of trillions of people back? What about your boat? Shut the up, 18. That made her. What are you what?
And I love both of these final episodes, but for vastly different reasons. First off, I can hear some of you already claiming that Dragon Ball Super's ending isn't really a definitive one, and to that I say right now the series is over. Dragon Ball Z didn't have a definitive ending per se either, and so really having a definitive ending is entirely a unique thing to GT. Yet I would still claim that Z has an ending as I would Super. So how do they differ? Well, GT provided a lot of closure wrapping up the meaningful relationships Goku built up over his life.
What a great sunglasses.
There's no... Why was this difficult for you?
That one shot alone should have killed everything.
Over.
It's Super. I mean, everything.
Closure wrapping up the meaningful relationships Goku built up over his life.
And Roshi looking at his two pupils sparring for the Shut the up, Mark. There's nothing here. Super is not in the conversation.
Including in a tear-jerking send-off as he watches his descendants battle in a world tournament before walking off and being greeted by a montage of the best moments in the series. Dragon Ball Super, on the other hand, provided us with an incredibly action-packed, emotional conclusion to what the arc and...
How was emotional?
What was emotional about this conclusion, Mark? What was emotional? Cathartic, maybe? Is cathartic an emotion? Is hype the emotion you're talking about? Is that the emotional thing?
Series itself had built up to, while giving us a somewhat lesser emotional send-off before sprinkling on some nostalgia at the end and saying goodbye. Keeping both of these wonderful endings in mind, which worked better.
You could have just said that for all of Super. Sprinkling in a little nostalgia.
As an ending to their respective series for me. Dragon Ball Supers did.
This is instant Hall of Fame.
Easy.
Instant, bro.
I'm kind of done with this. I don't even want to hear what the he says.
We've got 2.5 minutes left.
Y'all sitting. I want to call out each and every one of y'all muffs that said, "Oh, why is Mark in Hall of Fame? Are you having a laugh?"
At this point, it's indisputable. That's why when he did his veto thing, I wasn't like, dang, I wouldn't have put Mark. No. I understood what he meant. But I was not as angry with Mark as DA is. I'm with him now. This man is awful.
Me. Dragon Ball Supers did.
Oh, you're mad at me! Dudes, with this shield...
hear me out. I absolutely
No.
adore what they did with Dragon Ball GT's ending. I've probably seen it hundreds of times in one form or another, but Super's finale works as well as it does because of Super's storytelling, whereas GT's finale works as well as it does because...
What do you mean? What? Super... It works as well as it does because of Super storytelling.
It's a big fight.
It's a big fight. And then it's the biggest fight. So, super storytelling. You could say that, what is this? Friends, enemies become friends and they overcome theirs for a greater good.
Sure.
Doesn't happen in Beerus, doesn't happen in Frieza. Kinda happens in the tournament. Doesn't happen in Black. What is the story that Super is telling that this...
Whereas GT's finale works as well as it does because of Dragon Ball Z and absolutely not because of Dragon Ball GT. So why do I think this? Well, Dragon Ball GT's final episode centers around emotional send-offs. Vegeta, Piccolo, and Krillin...
Why is that the emotional send-off that was established in Dragon Ball of Krillin? When you saying it works as well as it does because of Dragon Ball Z?
Dude, you're basically saying that the final episode wasn't good because of Dragon Ball GT, but because of everything that came before it. But isn't that better?
Isn't that better?
To have the emotional send-off of everybody and everything that's ever come and ending as opposed to the big fight and I got a boat.
Emotional farewells to Goku. During these goodbyes, no one is thinking of anything meaningful GT contributed to their relationships with Goku as the...
What did they do? Did they even have a conversation in GT? Why would they need to?
It's the history of everything. Why would they think of the most recent thing when Goku rocks up and going, I am going away for 100 years? Why would they go, dang, last week you did give me an apple?
They would think of all the first time they met, all the things they've been through. Not them talking the day before like, yo, you seen the game?
Dang, when the whole, they all came in and tried to hold off Cell and they're like, Goku, you sure did. That was only emotional because of everything that happened before. It wasn't because of what happening right now. It's built upon everything for this moment, Mark. And you're going, yeah, but Super, the storytelling.
Because everything that was, ending in Super was based on things within Super. And as such, it's got the better ending.
Yeah, that great Dragon Ball Super character, Frieza.
This didn't really happen in GT. And that's not even a controversial thing for me to say, as none of these characters, despite being meaningful to Goku, played virtually any role in the entire series of Dragon Ball GT. And because no new meaningful relationship...
Neither did they in Super! They just didn't have some big send-off of, let me think of all the moments. This is...
had been established between Goku and anyone else in GT. When it came time to allocate and structure character scenes for the ending, the options were obvious. Additionally, the final montage that ends the series is top to bottom original Dragon Ball with very little GT. Almost as if they didn't want to lean into the fact that GT existed. To me,
this is the send-off for Goku. So now let's look at all of Goku's most meaningful moments.
And are we gonna look at the 300 episodes before? Or the 50 episodes now? Where a lot of these people weren't even around for.
trying to make themselves feel like the natural continuation to the series, yet as I established earlier, the shift in tone and what the series was trying to go for from the very beginning was incredibly distinct to Dragon Ball Z. In this particular section, Super takes it because it delivered an incredibly effective ending that couldn't have existed without Dragon Ball Super, whereas Dragon Ball GT's ending was specifically designed prior to the series' creation, as revealed by the Dragon Ball GT producers.
So it couldn't exist without Dragon Ball Super. The reason why Android 17 is on the in team is because he was wished back to life in Dragon Ball Z. Frieza, he was chopped up to bits and he went away. If he had been brought back to life fully formed, they would have sensed him and then went over to him and automatically killed him. So he had to be brought back to life in chopped up bits, which had to happen in Dragon Ball Z. Come on now,
And
Mark.
Goku was there too.
And Goku existed.
I don't understand the point of it all is within Super itself, and that's why it's better ending. When it's a more open-ended ending, because one, as you said, Super is not really over, and two, as you said, Super does not have a hard ending. If GT did not have a hard ending for the series of Dragon Ball, then it wouldn't go on this nostalgia trip of all these memories and stuff. It would just be doing whatever episode. It'd have a final tournament arc or something fun, a day out in the park eating food, whatever it may be. Grown Pan with child Goku. Like a baby Goku, because she named her kid Goku or something. Grandpa Goku. What would be the... It's a hard end, so they're looking back on everything.
On everything.
And that includes GT, because as you said, they didn't put much of GT in, but they did. They're looking back on everything, whereas Super is just, all right, we did it, now let's get out of here. Which is no different than Goku Black, which is no different than the first tournament arc, which is no different than the Frieza arc, which is no different than the Beerus arc. All the arcs are essentially, all right, we're done, let's get out of here.
Meaning it relied not on its own merits to be effective, but the writing of another, better series in the original Dragon Ball. Over the last several months, I have taken the time to clearly illuminate my likes and dislikes with regards to these two series. Both have their substantial ups and downs, and both are incredibly different. The explanations I've given today could very easily be arguments for Dragon Ball GT for another individual. However, in my personal opinion, Dragon Ball Super feels to me like the stronger of the two shows for the many reasons I outlined today and over the last several months. I have many issues with both of these series, as I'm sure a lot of you out there do too, or perhaps you don't and love them both equally. Either way, whatever your position may be, should be the only thing that matters to you. And with that said, I hope you found this video to be entertaining and worth the wait. I seriously tried my best to be as upfront and clear about my thought process as I possibly could, and I hope I met your expectations. But that'll do it for this week. I hope you had fun, and thank you so much for watching along. See you next week.
Mark is
horrible, dude. Horrible. In terms of a non-stupid creator, he might be the worst creator we do.
Without a doubt. He's competent.
Yeah.
There's something
He's competently awful.
It's just like stretch out. Go a little bit further with this thought. Don't just say the color and how it's drawn.
Hey, how about this, Mark? Whenever you're doing a thing, add 2 more sentences to your explanation. And just see if you can grab something there. Like with that color thing. You're explaining it, add 2 more sentences to that explanation. And see what you come up with.
See what you come up with. See if it's more
substantive. Because there's...
See if you can grasp something more. Show it to your wife and go, am I explaining myself properly here?
Show it to your friend group and go, do y'all think this is explained enough?
When I say the color and how it's drawn, you think they're going to get that? You think that I've explained myself properly with that?
He's horrible.
He's awful. It's unbelievable.
It's truly unbelievable.
And that's usually followed with, is it unbelievable? No, this is unbelievable.
He's so milquetoast. He's so fence riding. Everybody's opinion is as valid as the next person's, no matter what. You don't have to, the things I said could apply in the positive for GT if that's what you derive from it and that's what should matter the most. Then why should I watch you? Who is entertained by this?
What is to be gained by this other than your pure and just simple opinion? When you're not given enough explanations to make it any sort of substance.
He is such a coward.
He's horrible.
He is such a criticism coward.
Big shield man.
I can't stand Mark, dude.
Crazy.
And again, not as the person. I don't know the person.
Yeah, no.
As the content creator, TotallyNotMark, I cannot stand this guy.
He cannot write a script.
He can, but it's not good.
Well, obviously he can. A baby can write a script. A baby did write a script. But it's just...
Explain yourself, you baby!
That's what I would just... If I could just have one word to him, I'd be like, just explain yourself.
That's
more.
like 6 words.
Explain.
There you go. Didn't I?
It's just crazy. Just something... I would just show him something like that. Just going... Cause just the color and how it's drawn is so Mark.
It's...
Did you go, what?
What is Mark's explanation of this? The color and how it's drawn. Oh, what does he mean by that? I could not tell you.
How is it drawn?
But I know why he likes that part. Because of the color and how it's drawn.
How it's drawn. But what does that mean? I don't know what it means, but Mark knows what it means. And is that all that matters? Who's to say?
It's like hearing a sentence in a foreign language and repeating it back. You know what was said, but you don't understand what was said. Oh. Viewer request month moves on.
I hate that was 2 Hall of Fames.
The same thing happened last year.
No, but that was the good one. It's all downhill from here.
It's all downhill from here, y'all.
Well, maybe the Whole Cake Island one. In fact, let me first off just take this off of the list. Fantastic. What we got to say, Whole Cake Island, man?
When a character spews complete bullshit from their mouth and makes a complete ass of themselves. Reiju spent the first half of the arc telling Sanji about how she's not gonna help him, that she's not on his side, and that he shouldn't have come back. But at that point, she's already given Sanji the fake handcuffs and sided with him. Brooke gives Big Mama speech about
because she was in front of judge and you had to make this.
Hey, we just did Whole Cake. Didn't we say we were gonna push that off to another month?
We did, but it's also been. I think it's been long enough because it was.
You just said the exact same things you said about.
I understand that, but what's gonna stop me from saying the exact same things that I'm gonna say a month from now?
This is very fair.
So yeah, up on the list now we got Naruto is Better Than One Piece featuring Rogers, based by Swag Kage, the Penguin Zero anime tier list, and that. Those are the only 3 things that we have left, and then we're picking from the list, and then we're doing that stream. That was the thing. That was the stream. And then...
Now, what we could do is make those last 3 videos the streams. No, you're not going to be here on the 22nd, so that's not going to be a stream.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, are you away for the weekend or just that day?
I don't know.
Okay, well, we'll decide what we're doing that week. Yeah, because we got to knock these out to get to the good. Like I said, we're saving this.
Or the good enough.
The good enough.
The better.
I feel like that Penguin Zero boy is going to go really quick.
Of course. How could it not?
So we're going to need something to supplant that. And we can pick one of those, or we can pick one from the list already.
It's just, I like that song a lot, and I hate that Mark likes it.
Hey, if nothing else, Mark is a man of good taste. See y'all next week.